बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाए जीरा से MTH का जल जीरा से
असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
From the Republic Media Network headquarters, it's time for Arnab Goswami on the debate. Arnab Goswami on the debate.
On the show tonight, the war is at our doorstep. The war has reached just 373 kilometers away from Kanyakumari. At 8:30 p.m. tonight, a debate you cannot miss, a direct debate, Iran versus the US. And at 9 o'clock tonight, a global panel to give you clarity on the issues of oil, supply chains, and how the war may hit you. Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest headline today, which I do not understand why the rest of the Indian media has missed, is that the war is on our doorstep. Forget what is happening around the Strait of Hormuz. The war is right here and very, very close to us. Do not be shocked, ladies and gentlemen, at what I am about to share next. The war between Iran and America is being fought 300 kilometers from Kanyakumari. Yes, you heard that right. 373 kilometers to be precise from Kanyakumari. We're very close to Indian territorial waters, just on the edge of Sri Lanka's territorial waters, in a location that is just 70 kilometers from Galle, 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 the Sri Lankan port, 40 nautical miles, 70 kilometers from Galle, very close to us. An American submarine has carried out a torpedo attack, silently moving close to India's waters. And ladies and gentlemen, these are the visuals of that attack. And an Iranian ship called IRIS Dena, which was, by the way, returning to Iran after participating in a multinational naval exercise that India was hosting in Visakhapatnam called Milan 2026. In fact, we have the visuals. This is the ship when it was participating in the Milan 2026 multinational naval exercises in Visakhapatnam. It was on its way back to Iran, possibly for deployment. These are the pictures of the Iranian crew members on board the Iris Dena when they were at Visakhapatnam. Now, this ship was going back from Visakhapatnam past the coast of, southern coast of Sri Lanka and probably going back to the Middle East. And it is there, obviously being tracked by the Americans, that it was torpedoed by an American submarine. And ladies and gentlemen, the ship was en route back to Iran from the eastern Indian port of Visakhapatnam at the time of the attack. Ladies and gentlemen, the big story you need to hear tonight is that very close to our coast, the Americans have attacked and sunk an Iranian warship. The US military has released visuals of the attack, and I can only tell you the significance of this attack is in the fact that, as per the US Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, he says this is the first torpedo sinking of an enemy warship since World War II. I cannot underscore more how significant this event has been. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the Sri Lankan Navy, the Sri Lankan Air Force are deploying ships, and as of now I know that there are 30 to 35 sailors rescued, but unfortunately more than 100 are missing, presumed dead, and the ship is on the bottom of the ocean. Ladies and gentlemen, America and Israel's war with Iran is now being fought 300 kilometers from our coast. I've always been saying, and I've said this over the last few days, and some of you have said that I've been exaggerating things. Well, I don't. Whenever I make a point on issues such as this, as serious as this, which involves our national security as well, I say this on the basis of information which I have. Ladies and gentlemen, this is World War III, have no doubt about it. More and more countries are getting involved. The discussions are becoming hotter. And ladies and gentlemen, when this war reaches 300 kilometers from our coastline, we should be clear, we can no longer really be non-aligned about this. Maybe we can, maybe that is an estimation of the government, but there's going to be a heavy contestation for our waters. We must also remember, and yesterday we had the privilege of hosting the Indian Navy admirals at a big event, but the Indian Ocean is our zone of influence. The Indian Ocean is our zone of influence. And in the Indian Ocean, 300 kilometers from Kanyakumari, when an American submarine sinks an Iranian warship returning from a multilateral exercise hosted by the Republic of India in international waters, in our zone of influence, when the Americans torpedo an Iranian warship, we must start getting very watchful. I'm sure our government is. But at this point of time, viewers, we'll have to be very alert. Of course, this is not in our territorial waters. It's not in Sri Lanka's territorial waters either, but it's just on the edge. The biggest torpedo attack by an American submarine since World War II has happened 300 kilometers, 373 kilometers, to be precise, ladies and gentlemen, from Kanyakumari. We cannot ignore this. This is our strategic sphere. A US submarine operating so close to Indian shores without any coordination, without, I repeat, any coordination with our Navy, with our armed forces, with us, is an indirect challenge to our influence. Of course, this escalates this entire battle into our direct neighborhood. We have so far maintained ties with both Washington and Tehran. We have the Chabahar port. We've invested over $500 billion into that port, so we are being forced to make a choice. Sri Lanka is also caught in the middle. The casualties of the war are in Gaul. Ladies and gentlemen, Colombo now faces pressure from Washington, Tehran, Beijing, and of course from Delhi simultaneously. Remember, this is not an isolated incident. This is also a reflection of the way America thinks. It will go right next to our territorial waters, if required, to achieve its military objectives. Sri Lanka and, in a way, India are now a front row witness to American power projection right next to our coast, in the Sri Lankan backyard. Without Sri Lankan involvement, knowledge, consent, or warning, the Americans are doing what they feel they need to. Dear viewers of Republic, I would like to state again that this ship was India's guest. The ship, I'll show it again, IRIS Dana, was India's guest, and the US sank it 370 kilometers from Kanyakumari. Viewers across Republic, think about this. The ship was literally sailing home from our waters, where it was our guest when the US torpedoed it. Of course, it was international waters, but incidents like this are far-reaching. They should make us think. What are the lines? And more importantly, for us, for Bharat, a proud nation, what are the red lines? the nation needs to know.
This is Iris Dana. It was seen leaving the Indian coast a few days back after International Fleet Review in Visakhapatnam. 94 meters long, Dana displaced 1,500 tons with a landing pad to host a helicopter. The ship, while returning to Iran, was struck by a US submarine. 80 crew members killed at last count. PTEXET has confirmed attacking the Iranian warship off the Indian coast.
In fact, last night, we sunk their prize ship, the Soleimani. Looks like POTUS got him twice. Their Navy, not a factor. Pick your adjective, it is no more. In fact, yesterday, in the Indian Ocean, and we'll play it on the screen there, an American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death. The first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II. Like in that war, back when we were still the War Department, we are fighting to win. Also, yesterday, the leader of the unit who attempted to assassinate President Trump has been hunted down and killed. Iran tried to kill President Trump, and President Trump got the last laugh.
What is alarming is that this attack was 40 kilometers south of Gele in southern Sri Lanka, a few hundred kilometers from the Indian coast. The attack was in the Indian Ocean. The war is on India's doorstep.
Ladies and gentlemen, to be precise, General Dayal, this is 370 kilometers from Kanyakumari. This submarine attack by the United States of America on a ship returning from an Indian multinational exercise is about 40 nautical miles from Gaul, 75 kilometers to be exact only. Right? And if we are a strategic ally of the US and they expect our support in this, I'm just saying, did they intimate us? Did they tell us? Did they share the intelligence with us? Or are they operating with impunity on their own?
Arnab, firstly, thank you. I think let's have no doubt, America is independently working. It doesn't need anybody. It doesn't consult anybody. The most alarming part is that America must be fully aware that it has participated in an Indian exercise, firstly. Secondly, they must be aware, which can be corrected by some naval gentlemen, that these ships may be armed with their normal arms, but they do not carry ammunition when they come out for such exercise. So if it was not carrying ammunition, then I feel it was just a harmless ship. If he has done it this way without informing, without intimating, without anything, or he could have warned for the ship not to leave the waters. I mean, this is blatant, like I'm saying from day one. This is an unlawful war which has been unleashed by America. It has been unleashed in a region which is strategic, both from the geostrategy point of view, from the energy point of view, from the control of the world point of view, from the lines of communication, from the transportation point of view, from every point of view. And he's blatantly doing this. I think all nations which are law-abiding, which follow the UN Charter, which believes in some sort of diplomacy in the world, I think they need to condemn this. If it was not armed at all, or neither informed, it's a blatant. Actually, it undermines India's stature itself. People will not understand it. How it undermines our neighborhood. That a ship came to us. It excised with us. It was on our coast few days back. It was 200%, I feel, unammunition. If you sink that ship, I think you are sending a larger message that I care two hoots for anybody. I'm the Dada. This area belongs to me. Anything that passes here, I will. And just 300 kilometers away. Ever since the US, ever since Abraham Lincoln has been based in Arabian Sea,
Yeah.
I think his intentions were very clear, that he does not bother anybody.
The other thing is that, when we did this International Maritime Review in Visakhapatnam and we did, Milan 2026, all the countries who were here for those exercises were largely our partner nations. Yesterday, I had the privilege of hosting a major Navy event. The Admiral Dinesh Tripathi was there. And we were talking about partner nations, So when we see a zone of influence, there are many countries, including some landlocked countries like Kyrgyzstan, others, who sent delegations to the Vizag event, to the Visakhapatnam event. Now, what would the message go to our potential maritime partner nations, General Bakshi, that an American submarine goes 300 kilometers from our coast in clearly our zone of influence, just next to the territorial waters, almost in the territorial waters of Sri Lanka, and sinks a ship returning from a multilateral exercise, a peaceful exercise with India, and it happens right under our nose, under our watch. I mean, we may not know about it, but can we ignore this, General Bakshi?
No, you can't. Because what's being told to you is we can kick anybody's ass. We can kick Venezuela when we like. We can kidnap its president, take him away, take his wife also for good measure, right? We can hit Iran, and we can knock off a ship which came as your guest just at your doorstep, just outside your waters, in your exclusive economic zone. It's not a very friendly message, with due apologies. There are a lot of cheerleaders of Donald Trump in our country who want to cheerlead Donald Trump into that stupid campaign that he has launched against Iran. It is a strategy which is not thought through. We are getting different explanations every different hour. We were told it is regime change, then it was changed to nuclear, then it was changed to tackling the conventional missiles, then it was this thing. It looks like that you started the invasion first and you are thinking why you did it a little later, right? Now, the fact of the matter is, Arnab, let me be straightforward up front. The qualitative and quantitative disadvantage that Iran is fighting against is known to the world. They cannot possibly prevail, right? But they are very clear that we'll go down, we'll take you down with us.
Effective.
We will inflict casualties, we will inflict economic pain and damage to the rest of the world, including you. And there will be a cost to pay. There will be a price to pay. If you think that all nations are going to simply fold up like the Venezuelan people who are primary expertise is, Miss Universe pageants and Miss World pageants. Well, let me tell you, if Iran lands a sucker punch. I'll just finish. If Iran lands a sucker punch, if it takes down one American aircraft carrier or one American naval ship, and it can, even if it loses its navy, it's got the missiles. Right? It's got the drones.
The Kanyakumari,
if it takes down one, Donald Trump can kiss his midterm election goodbye.
See, the fact is that at this point of time, the situation has become extremely serious from an Indian point of view. You see, this ship has been sunk in waters which are the search and rescue area of Sri Lanka in the Indian Ocean. And we were alarmed when we heard that a Chinese submarine was operating in this area. Now an American submarine comes and sinks an Iranian warship 370 kilometers from Kanyakumari. The foreign minister of Sri Lanka has just briefed parliament and said 180 were on board and over 100 are feared killed. 30 are seriously injured. But most importantly, I think we can't afford to be too blasé and look the other way on it, because this ship was our guest. And if anybody in Ministry of External Affairs or the Government of India wants to downplay this, they can call me and tell me why they want anyone to downplay it. How can you downplay it? This is our guest. They were invited by us for the International Fleet Review. And the Indian Navy chief personally met the commander of this ship. And now it's been sunk. Where is the strategic partnership we are supposed to have with the United States of America? Are they not aware how this will embarrass us? Are they not aware about how this will embarrass us, Ambassador Deepak Vora, or do they not care?
Right. Thank you very much. As always, a pleasure to be with you. I just heard the two generals, and I'm sure that I'm going to hear our other colleague. So what are you going to do about it? The fellow came here. You heard the press conference of the American Defense Secretary, reeks of arrogance, and his Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff, the Air Force General. If you hurt us, hurt American lives, take American lives, we'll hunt you down wherever you are in the world. We have the capability to do it. So this guy comes because he's participating in the fleet review before the war broke out. After it started, the Israelis and the Americans have said very clearly that every Iranian asset, military asset, is fair game for us. What if they sent all their ships off to Iraq or to South Africa or whatever remains? Then what would the Americans do? Say, no, these guys are our friends, we won't do it. No, sir. There's nothing in international law that prohibits the Americans from hitting an enemy vessel that is in international waters. Now, the impact on us, certainly. We are going to take it up diplomatically and say you shouldn't have done this. Should have waited for these jokers to come out a little further away from Sri Lanka. You could have sunk them then. The argument that they were our guests and you sunk them doesn't hold. What if they had gone 400 kilometers, 500 kilometers away from us? Then they could have been sunk and we would be dancing? No, sir.
So okay, so let me take you up on that. This frigate is returning after naval exercises in Visakhapatnam. They are India's guest. The Americans keep saying we want to have a great strategic relationship with India, right? But I can also argue that you deliberately wait for this ship to be closest to Indian waters and then sink it. Now, you may say, no, it's not, it's accidental, it's timing, it happened to just be off Sri Lankan waters, right? But what about the sphere of influence, Saurabh?
You know, Arnab,
are we going to say that we are going to give up the Indian Ocean as a sphere of influence? Are we going to say, let there be a free-for-all here? Today the southern coast, tomorrow of the western coast. Will we be mute witness to whatever happens?
So what do you expect us to do?
Not what I expect. I'm saying that I'm saying here because Deepak Vora said, what do you expect? I expect that a country that keeps talking about a strategic
I expect us to show our displeasure.
Sir, General Bakshi, sir, can I come in, sir?
Yes, sir.
There are facts of the case. One, I want to start, General Bakshi, I have the greatest respect for you, sir, but, your Venezuela analogies of Miss World and Miss Universe is really demeaning to women, sir. Please stop doing that. That's my humble request. That's one. Coming to the topic, sir, I would say that the Iranian ship was India's guest, yes, but when they were in India's territorial waters, it was India's responsibility to secure them. Once they were in international waters, there is a war going on. US was well within its right to strike that ship. That's what they've done. If the Iranians have been hitting out at civilian targets in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, they've been hitting airports, they've been hitting, hotels. What do you expect for a country which is waging a war against a terrorist and rogue regime to do, Arnab? From India's standpoint, I can tell you. And I don't want to put out...
This is where, Saurabh, I'll just... 10-second intervention. 10-second intervention. 10-second intervention. 10-second intervention. 1 minute. 10-second intervention.
Arnab, can I reply?
I just ask you. I ask you.
America should have attacked. America should have attacked the Houthis.
1 minute. Saurabh.
And Hamas. All nonsense Americans are talking. You see a ship is going from Indian participate in an exercise. You, friend, you have invited me for a dinner. I'm not your responsibility after I leave. Listen to me for a minute. You all are justifying wrong things in the world. You all are not at all worried about what future holds for this world. There's a country which is pursuing a unipolar world. It is pursuing dictatorial new colonialism, and you guys are supporting it. And there's a president, behind him there's a team. Look at your defense secretary's past. Look at his own character.
Not
you
mine,
guys are pursuing it. Listen to me. This ship was un-ammunition. If you and Admiral Vora can justify that an un-ammunition ship returning from Indian exercise without telling the Indian government, you shoot it down, you are undermining India's, whatever we call it, India's image, India's strength, India as a nation. You're undermining us.
I think that
you must understand military minds across the world.
May I come in for a minute?
Arnab, these guys do not understand.
May I come in and I'll push the envelope. One minute. Just a minute. Please let me. I understand, sir. Let me intervene. Thank you. One minute. Because I have limited time. See, the point is, Deepak Vora, let me give a certain example. General Bakshi, please give me a minute. You know the Americans want St. Martin Island, and on that basis was the basis for the regime change operation which happened there. Tomorrow, they will put a whole lot of submarines in St. Martin Island, or maybe 50 kilometers away from it, and we'll say it's perfectly all right. And then I can turn it around and say that tomorrow, if this incident happened in the English Channel, would the British say it's perfectly all right? Tomorrow, if this happened 200 kilometers from Hong Kong, would the Chinese say it's perfectly all right? They wouldn't, because power means something, Deepak Voraji, only when power can be projected. If we say we are powerful, but we don't project our power in a way that the Americans consider it, think twice before sending a submarine on a torpedo mission 300 kilometers from Kanyakumari. Power projection is something that we also ought to do, I guess.
No one has any dispute with that, sir. Of course we have to project our power. You do recall that during Operation Sindoor, our Navy was running around off the coast of Karachi. The Turks had a ship which ran away. They were scared that they would be sick. That's what power projection is all about,
No, but sir, would they do this with the Chinese? Would they do this would they even do this in the English Channel?
Of course they would do it, sir. The French are delighted with what they are doing to the Iranians. So are the British. They are very happy.
So what should we do? We should just roll over and say, do what you want in the Indian Ocean.
Sink that Turkish ship.
No, Arnab, how do you know that India and the US are not having a strategic cooperation at this point?
Can I also please come in?
How do you know
we have?
If you see...
I'm sorry, equally I can ask you, how do you know? 1 minute, you're talking about something very big. Please let me tell you the serious things you should not talk. Saurabh, are you suggesting that we are colluding with the Americans to torpedo our Iranian ship returning from an invitation to India? No, I think that's wrong.
We are standing against terrorism. We are standing against countries which are fomenting, enriching nuclear uranium, which are
this is very serious.
Nuclear weapons.
So war is at India's doorstep.
India.
It's not Indian Ocean, it's India's doorstep. Even Mauritius and Maldives is Indian Ocean.
Position, which is the right position. The right position
Correct,
is the position that India has taken, that it will stay silent, but it knows where its friends are. And that message is loud and clear.
What is the message? Sorry, I haven't got this. Arnab, can I come in?
Yeah, please.
Arnab, can I come in?
Sir, you can, sir.
You know, Arnab, America in the last few years has staged colored revolutions in Sri Lanka. It staged colored revolutions in Bangladesh. It has done a colored revolution in Nepal. It is threatening to create a cookie land out of Mizoram and Manipur, right? We gave it $1 billion. We gave it $1 billion क्या हो रहा है? जा रहा है कि नहीं?
जा रहा है sir.
We gave it $1 billion for the GE 404 engines.
Next.
Right? And after 2 years, we had gotten 2.
Directors.
When our Prime Minister spoke to them, we got another 5. We have another 90 to get. I'm sorry, the way, you can talk of the defining partnership of the 21st century for all that you want. Saurabh, Shukla, we military men can see a threat when it is coming. And we don't join the cheerleading gang of the opposite side. We know how to fight.
When in a war situation,
we know how to fight. Don't give me that lip. Don't give me that lip about... Don't give me that lip about joining the cheerleading gang.
An enemy country in territorial
I'm not one of those chorus girls.
That's an international law. I'm not. I'm saying
it should have. If they okay, let me answer that.
India would have done the same thing.
Let me answer that. If they had shown us the courtesy of letting it go another 200 kilometers out into the Arabian
India
Sea,
or any country would have done the same
then
thing.
they would have shown us that courtesy of friends which they claim to be.
I have my doubts.
I know you are saying in the United States, but I don't expect you to be a cheerleader of the next colonial power.
Sir, I'm purely telling you on what the international law stands. Any country, even if you would have been a general commanding an army...
I am telling you, sir,
given a choice
that apart from international laws, apart from international laws, I know the international law, man. Don't tell me about the the law of the seas. I know them very well.
In international water...
Now, excuse me. Excuse me.
Next package. Things are
you must listen. You must listen. You must listen. I'm trying to tell you, Saurabh, that if the Americans were friendly, if they had some courtesy, some courteous feelings towards us and our feelings, they would have done this killing well off into the Arabian Sea. Doing it just outside your coast is trying to make us complicit.
Sir, maybe the choice wasn't there.
Trying to make us complicit. It is a lack of courtesy. It is a lack of respect. It is a lack of courtesy. It is a lack of respect. It is trying to treat you like a bloody colony. And damn you, we are not a colony. 200 years we've had enough. We've had enough. India is a nuclear power. India is a space power of consequence. And we are not pushovers, we are not pansy.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is... ladies and gentlemen... Mr. General Dayal, please, I'm closing comments here.
Arnab,
Yes,
you want to fight terrorism. You don't want to touch Pakistan. America doesn't want to touch the fountainhead where entire terrorism concept, everything was born, and still also promoting everything. You don't want to touch it. You want to finish nuclear power. You can't touch North Korea. This reason is not about nuclear or anything. This is about controlling the world, because you'll control everything. You'll control all the routes, all the logistics, absolutely.
No,
this is your game plan.
I think this time...
and we will suffer in times to come. This is what we feel as soldiers. Because you've read Second World War very thoroughly.
It's a very... Let me put it this way, with everyone on. It's a very sensitive time. India's geopolitical experts are already doing their calculations and possibly measuring what the long-term advantage of this chaotic situation could be for us. There are some people who expect that perhaps if this turns against Pakistan, then the Americans will also stay silent if we were to do something to Pakistan. I'm only suggesting. Or if naturally the series of events in Pakistan is such that it gets balkanized, and that happens at this point of time when Pakistan is already in trouble, then this could be for our geopolitical advantage. Nevertheless, the point is, as people noticed after Mike Carney spoke, the moment Mike Carney gave it back in Davos to Trump, Trump began to speak with greater respect about Canada. Trump is basically, therefore, understands power and power projection. Maybe we can do it backroom, maybe we can do it clandestinely, but maybe we should say to the Americans that this could have been handled much better. Much better. I hope to get you visuals from Gaul, where we are speaking to our stringers to get latest footage of that story. The big headline, the number one headline today, the war is right at our doorstep. Right at our doorstep. 373 kilometers from Kanyakumari to be exact.
जीरा सिप असली रिफ्रेशिंग असली स्वाद असली मजा